Hello, this is Commander Battery here with a box opening of the new Commander deck from the Outlaws of Thunder Junction. I have a lot to say about this set, and I figured I could go through and check out the Commander deck while I talk about it. Let's see. Deck here, a little how to play guide, some punch outs. Here we got deck box, the life counter, as well as a collected booster sample pack. Side. Yeah, I have a lot to say about this particular expansion. Let's see if I can get this open. I do like the borderless treatment for the face card Planeswalker. They did get, or Legend, they did get rid of the thick card stock, which is fine. I don't think too many people really cared about that. But yeah, we got Council's Judgment. A lot of cool cards here. Got a nice reprints. But when I saw the bonus sheet that they had for this, for the newsprint, the newspaper is called Prosperity. And so I thought it was a shoo-in they would get a reprint of Prosperity in there, but it didn't happen. It seemed like a no-brainer. I do love the alliterative flavor text on all of the newsprint bonus sheet cards. Now, as much as I don't care for the deluge of cameo appearances from throughout the multiverse, like we've got Olivia here, it's a shame that we didn't get a new version of Denry Klin, the Leonin newspaper editor from New Capenna. The bonus sheet was all about newspaper headlines, and they didn't include the news cat. It just seemed like a missed opportunity. I was not super hyped when I heard about Outlaws of Thunder Junction because I knew the Wizards of the Coast would not be able to do justice to the theme. But even I was surprised by how sanitized they made everything. It's also kind of wild that the Outlaws of Thunder Junction play booster, or that the boosters could contain cards with 5 different set symbols. You've got the regular set expansion, the Commander set expansion. You've also have the Prosperity bonus sheet. You have the Big Score, which is the scrapped Epilogue booster expansion. Then you have the special guest slot. Always good to see coming manufacturer. It's funny that Aftermath was such a huge flop that WotC completely scrapped the next Epilogue set and included those cards into the play boxes / collector booster boxes for Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Honestly, part of me prefers the multiple set symbols within the set, as opposed to what they used to have, set booster exclusive rares, which had the same set symbol as cards found in draft packs, but they could never be pulled in draft packs. But then again, now they've consolidated it down to just play boosters, having nearly half a dozen different set symbols in a single expansion makes even less sense. Oh, this is new. This was reprinted in the Fallout Commander decks, and now I'm getting a reprint here. That is kind of wild that the Fallout deck completes a land cycle that was new when I started playing back in Odyssey block. Let's see, here's the one from Odyssey block originally. Now, I'm a huge fan of Rakdos in general. Rakdos X, one of my favorites. Kind of surprised we got a reprint of Blackcleave Cliffs in here. That was kind of pricey for a little while. But as somebody who loves Rakdos, it's a little disheartening seeing him as the muscle, as being a mercenary. It feels a little below his station, as considering his role on Ravnica and everything. Lightning Greaves, nice reprint. It's also weird since we just saw Rakdos in Murders at Karlov Manor. And I guess the mercenary creature type is just a way to signify that he lacks loyalty and he's just in it for the money. He's not typically known for being a team player. That's part of the charm behind the unlikely aid card from War of the Spark. And when I saw Olivia that she was going to be the face commander of this deck, I thought, oh, perfect. This could be a good replacement for Edgar Markov vampire deck, but then I read and realized, oh, she doesn't have anything to do with vampires, unfortunately. Let's see. Okay, so these spree cards, they got a low mana value, but they make you pay through the nose for the full effect. They're interesting. I do like it. I think that this, the instant speed ones at least, have a lot of interesting potential with, say, Isochron Scepter or other things that care about low MV cards. At the back here, past the tokens, they've got the little mini game of, you got 3 Outlaws here, and before the game you shuffle 6 bounty cards in a face down pile. Then start the player's third turn, you reveal the top bounty card, then you claim the revealed bounty during your turn and collect the reward. As each turn begins, if no bounty is being offered, reveal the next one. Pile is empty, shuffle. Bounty when unclaimed last turn increases reward to the next level, maxing out at 4. You get a treasure token, 2 treasure tokens, 2 treasures, or a card, or 2 treasures and a card. Interesting. Beginning of your end step, legendary creature you control attacked alone this turn, collect a reward. If you commit a crime this turn, collect your reward. Target opponents, anything they control, cards in their hand or graveyard. Or at the beginning of your end step, if the player with the most cards in hand are tied for the most, to result combat damage, collect your reward. Alright. So that is the Opulent Outlaw. Let's move on to the next deck. This is the Land Graveyard deck. One of the issues I have with Thunder Junction is ever since Commander started to take off and become the most popular format, people's introduction to the game in many cases. Oh, that's nice. A little tough to pry up. There we go. But Wizards of the Coast have been shoehorning in more and more legends into every set. It seems like they create a 10-card cycle of new uncommon legends for every color pair whenever a set comes out. They did that with Eldraine. They've done that for so many expansions. Here's the other gift box and life wheel. Look at that. A cactus Planeswalker symbol. Cute. And another collector sampler pack, which we'll save that for later. punch out counters, how to play insert, and Yuma, Proud Protector. I just look at this and I just see Mandalorian and Grogu, but I'm getting ahead of myself with this set. Now with Thunder Junction, instead of creating a whole bunch of new characters, like you have some new characters like Yuma, but most of the characters in here are already existing, popular characters that they just brought to have a hodgepodge of multiverses from throughout, which, can work. I liked it in War of the Spark. I liked it in March of the Machines. They had a whole bonus sheet full of legends from throughout the multiverse, and it made sense because this was their Avengers Endgame. This was the culmination, but then to go back and do it again so soon after the March of the Machine just feels like too much, too fast, and it doesn't even really, the stakes aren't as high, let's just say, because March of the Machine was Phyrexians invading all these different planes at once, and now it's arrived from all these different planes coming to Thunder Junction. And it's not like they have just rare and mythic rare legends taking up the spot. Chromatic Lantern, nice. But you've got iconic characters from throughout the multiverse and turning them into uncommon legends. Man, Oracle of Moldiah. I remember when this was a $30 to $40 card. It went about 13 years without a meaningful reprint. It got like a reprint in it, the first Jumpstart boxes. But it wasn't until Commander Masters, 13 years after its first print in Zendikar, that it got any kind of meaningful reprint. And then the price of it just tanked from 40 down to less than 10. And this is a card that I think just went too long without a reprint. And the ironic thing is that by the time it got a reprint, it just wasn't as desirable in Commander because the format's just gotten so fast. Nesting Dragon reprint, nice. Boy, this is just like a Lord Windgrace deck 2.0, judging by these reprints. I'm not opposed to seeing uncommon versions of Mythic Legends either, but it should reflect where they are in their story. Like, I love the uncommon Urza and Mishra cards in Brothers War. That was a great way to convey the passage of time. Same thing for the M20 core set, which had a series of uncommon rare and mythic rare Chandra Planeswalker cards. Because you got to see how her story evolved and the rarity played into it, because as she grew more powerful, her cards, went from uncommon to rare to mythic. Cool new art on the Soul Ring. But what are we to take away from Lazav? Because Lazav is one of the uncommon Dimir legend in the set. So the fact that he's an uncommon, does that mean he's grown weaker? Explaining his diminished abilities compared to being a rare or mythic rare in previous sets. So in the return to Ravnica, it would be awkward to see Lazav go back to being a rare or mythic rare after slumming it as an uncommon in Thunder Junction. Seems like in addition to squeezing out every ounce of reprint equity in new sets, WotC is focusing on maximizing iconic character equity. It's like, why make new characters? Just keep giving people newer tweaks to the stuff, to the characters that they already love. And don't get me wrong, I think that in general, there's too many legends added in every set. I'd rather go back to when I started playing back in Onslaught. You'd see 5 to 6 new legends per set if you were lucky. And I know that this has a Legends Matter sub-theme, and people use that as an excuse. Well, that's why I have so many legends everywhere. This is the Legends Matter set. It's like original Kamigawa. But it's like when the Legends Matter set has roughly as many legends as your average Modern Magic set, all that tells me is that there's just too many Legends being printed in general. I think March of the Machines did it right. You had Legends from across the multiverse, but you had no new uncommon cards for Legends who were formerly rare or mythic rare cards. You did have, I think, some maybe downshifted for the bonus sheet, maybe. War of the Spark did something similar. They had uncommon Planeswalkers, which was pretty novel at the time. It felt like that was out of necessity due to the limitations of the Planeswalker card type. Otherwise, you just have every rare mythic in the set being a Planeswalker. So I get why they made them uncommon. So we got beginning of your end step. If the nearest opponent to your right was dealt damage, collect a reward. If there are 4 more card types on cards in your graveyard, collect your reward. And at the beginning of your end step, if a land was put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn, collect your reward. I would say that with this set, including this many Legends doesn't feel justified because the stakes are nowhere near as high as with War of the Spark or March of the Machine. There's no reason for there to be multiple Legends relegated to uncommon cards. And the whole Wild West theme is very surface level. It reminds me of The Simpsons, Lisa Simpson with Malibu Stacy. It's like, this, don't be fooled, this is not the flavorful, immersive cowboy themed set that we were promised. This is leaning heavily on a cavalcade of nostalgic characters to help sell a creatively sparse set. And it's like, but my favorite character is wearing a 10-gallon hat. And that's the selling point. It feels like Wizards of the Coast was embarrassed to make a cowboy world. It's been the one they've been asked about for years. Since I started playing the game over 20 years ago, people were asking, when are they going to do a cowboy set? And now we finally have it. And I think too much time has passed, and by the time we finally got around to it, they didn't have the stomach for it. They just wanted to stuff it with as many cameos from other planes as possible, just to cut down on actual world building. Oh, I can get this out of here. There we go. There we go. Okay. We got those. Another Thunder Junction pack. Got a little booklet. Punch out. And I have to say, this full art treatment does look pretty sweet. Also, I will say, looking at the special guest cards that are available in the booster packs, it feels weird to get special guest reprints from relatively new cards like Port Razor. This is Port Razor's 3rd printing in just 4 years. As well as Morbid Opportunist. It's the 4th printing of Morbid Opportunist in 3 years. That's ridiculous. Brazen Borrower is on its 4th printing in 5 years. So I may dunk on this set for having too many cameos from other legendary creatures, but there are some genuine creative designs. Oh, I do want to talk about, speaking of creative designs, the Smirking Spelljacker is an homage to the Spelljack card from Judgment, which was the first card the first rare I ever opened from a booster pack. So it has some fond sentimentality to me, that one. I will say that I like the idea to take full advantage of the setting, like the Cactus Folk. I thought the Cactus Folk were really cool looking. I like the Cactus Spider. It's just too bad that the new ideas seem to be playing a back seat. Here's a card that was pricey for a while. It got printed in a couple of secret layers and a couple of commander decks, and the price has just gone through the floor. Savvy Trader. Interesting. Let me come back to that. This card is getting a lot of discussion. Some people saying it's OP, goes in every deck. Some people saying it is junk. I mean, it's got reach, it's got death touch. It's a good early play, but I don't think it's gonna warp the format. No, I'm sure there's some people who love seeing their favorite characters from Magic the Gathering, you know, dressed in a cowboy hat. But I think all these cameos rob the set of charm it could have had if it just focused on the setting and trying to make us invested in the new characters, instead of leaning heavily on fan favorites. My concern is that if Thunder Junction is received poorly, WotC's takeaway will be, well, players didn't like the Wild West setting, which they never really gave us a Wild West setting. They just gave us multiversal all-stars with some cowboy window dressing. I also worry that they're going to say, oh, well, players just aren't invested in storylines of established Magic characters and lean more heavily into Universes Beyond and other popular IPs to help market sets. They'll do more things like putting Jurassic Park or Transformers or other IPs into Magic sets to help try and drum up more interest, which hope that doesn't happen. We'll see. I saw this new legend in the set that cares about mana rocks, and she's called Roxanne. I think it's a little on the nose as far as naming conventions go. And Bonnie Paul is the gender swap version of Paul Bunyan. I was honestly surprised that they included a Paul Bunyan reference. I didn't expect them to delve at all into American myths and legends. Like most of the set, it's just too bad they didn't do more with the stuff they included. I mean, between having to skirt around guns and Native Americans, it's amazing a Wild West set got made at all. Frankie the Fang. Play with most life. Begins without combat damage this turn, collect a reward. If all opponents without combat damage this turn, collect a reward. And at the beginning of your end step, if you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand this turn, collect your reward. Alright. No, I think WotC was too scared to fully lean into the Wild West tropes. Hence, need to cover up the cracks with nostalgic characters. I'm really still surprised that Ixalan gave us vampire conquistadors versus tribal indigenous merfolk. That was a gutsy move. I guess the Wild West just isn't as far removed historically as Cortez, and so WotC is treading more lightly when it comes to world building with historical references. Well, I was going to say this is new art for the Brain Stealer Dragon to make it look a little more Magic the Gathering like, even with the scorpion tail, even though it's not technically a scorpion in this set, but you can see like on the claws and everything. Let's see, where was the one? Okay, so the Savvy Trader here. As someone who used a Riku 2 Reflections as my commander for my Wheels deck for 9 years before Xeris was printed, I can say it's good to see Riku again. Those are some cameos I want to see. I don't want to see, which iconic legend can we use for the uncommon draft archetype signpost card. That's where they go wrong. The funny thing is, with the inclusion of Native Americans like the savvy trader, WotC is getting accused of whitewashing history by entirely removing Native American conflict from their Old West setting. Now, I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for now, and we can jump into the last deck. I was not expecting a Looney Tunes reference with the Resilient Roadrunner. The Cunning Coyote having plot is a nice reference to the Wile E. Coyote plotting to get the Roadrunner, but I still wish that the Coyote would have had that it would have assembled contraptions, even if it didn't make sense, even if contraptions weren't supported in this set. It could have been just another Steam Flogger boss, just there as basically ability as flavor text. Although I can totally get why they didn't do that. Got the wheel, the box. This is the last of the 4 decks. And so we've got the punch outs, little readme guide. This is the last one. This is the one I was most excited about. The Spellslinger one. So many good reprints in here. This one just looks like a blast to play. I will say I'm tired of creatures who have reach and who are wielding crossbows not having the archer creature type. Then again, it may look like and function like a magical crossbow, but it's one of the designs WotC went with for their weapons, since they're not allowed to depict anything that looks like a traditional gun. It's like people have, knives or blades but no guns, not allowed. I was happy to see Terror of the Peaks get a reprint, especially since the name Terror of the Peaks sounds like the name for a mythical Wild West creature. It's a good choice for a reprint. When I saw the artwork and the flavor for Smuggler Surprise, I didn't know what to think. It's like, the Crowan horse made sense in Theros, Beware of Greeks Bearing Gifts, but why are we putting allusions to the Trojan horse in the Wild West set? The references in Thunder Junction are all over the map. Feels like these first 2 attempts at play boosters are not thematically strong. People didn't like Ravnica being forced into a murder mystery that didn't feel Ravnican, with dozens of detectives running around like some kind of farce. Presumably to downplay the role of law enforcement in solving crimes, lest WotC be accused of glorifying police work, I guess. I don't know. Thunder Junction hasn't fared much better. I've already ranted about it enough, but it's trying to make a flavorful, trope-driven set where it's intentionally trying to avoid many of the tropes in order to avoid glorifying the wrong things. And to compensate, they're throwing in references to popular Magic characters from recent years, using nostalgia's spackle to cover the cracks left by their sparse world building. Why are Geralf and Gisa both warlocks in this set when they've both been wizards in all their previous incarnations? Is that something new? Are working with the dead no longer makes you a wizard, I guess? I also saw they made Varmint a creature type, which I guess is flavorful from a Wild West perspective, but I wish they wouldn't have made a new creature type. With all the multiversal shenanigans going on, I would have preferred they would have just reused Gremlins. Or instead of Varmint, just go with Pests. I did see the new Geared, the Naya colored one. He was in one of the Commander precons and gets a reprint here with the cowboy hat. I just think it's funny that the Conclave, a spoiler alert from the previous set, Murder Carlisle Manor, the Conclave were, well, I'd say spoiler alert, if you watched the debut video for Murders at Karlov Manor, you would know that the Conclave were the ones behind all the murders. And Geared's flavor text here says the Conclave was soft. It's like, presumably Geared hasn't heard about the events of Murders at Karlov Manor, otherwise I don't know if you'd call the Conclave soft when they've been orchestrating multiple murders of famous individuals on Ravnica. Just seems like I'm getting lost there. So the new theory I have is that WotC is incorporating characters from out the multiverse in Thunder Junction because they want to include as many pieces of slush art from previous sets as possible. And think about it, there's never been a better time because you have some art you need to use up, you need to put somewhere, it's like, oh, we'll just stick it in here. It doesn't matter, they're here. Why they're here? Omen paths. There you go. Is that maybe have the artist touch it up by adding a cowboy hat to the character, or maybe not. Maybe it just looks like a pirate from Ixalan, and we just throw the art in there. That one-drop monkey pirate looks like it came straight from Ixalan. No cowboy hat, no nothing. We got Myron Tillis Jr., beginning of instep. There's a opponent to your left. Without combat damage, you collect your reward. Beginning of your instep. If you cast no spells this turn, collect your reward. I wonder if this was a stylistic choice, or I wonder if this is in black and white because they ran out of time to color it, because all these others are in color here. At the beginning of your instep, if you cast an instant sorcery spell this turn while you have 2 or more instant sorcery spells in your graveyard, collect your reward. Interesting. Again, I don't know if you've seen the alternate art for the Wanted posters. Like, Wanted posters are not known for their vibrant colors. It's sad when the D&D rulebook cards make better Wanted posters than the actual ones. Like, how do you mess up the art direction for a Wanted poster? It should be like one color. I did see the Claim Jumper, the rabbit card, and mechanically, Opposition Agent would be a better fit for a Claim Jumper. I can see why they wouldn't want to print more of that effect. It is pretty annoying. With all the gratuitous legends in this set, I'm surprised it wasn't Quain Claim Jumper, the Quain Meddler from the Commander Legend set. People got a reprint? Oh yeah, this one already has a typo on it. When you cast your next instant sorcery spell this turn, copy it for each time you've cast a commander from the commands on this game. You can choose new targets for the copy. I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but they still are supposed to print it, and they forgot. So here are the decks. We've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. With Outlaws of Thunder Junction, the Magic release trailers have really taken a drop in quality, I feel. Magic cinematic trailers peaked with Throne of Eldraine. That was so good. I love the song choice. I love the emotion of the... Felt so emotionally invested for a couple of cookies. March of the Machines looked like the last high-quality cinematic trailer Magic produced. Specifically CGI. Wilds of Eldraine had an anime cinematic trailer and a short trailer with paper cutout style. Lost Caverns of Ixalan didn't have any cinematic as far as I can tell. Murders at Karlov Manor only had a brief teaser trailer. It definitely feels like Magic has been scaling back the frequency and quality of the cinematic trailers with recent sets. Oh, one other question I had about the Silver Deputy. Why name the Silver Deputy a deputy if it's not going to be a soldier or a similar role pertaining to law and order? Why is it a mercenary? Like, a mercenary is only loyal to money, right? Part of what bothers me about this set is it feels like they use Western words without any thought as to whether or not it makes sense. I guess the flavor text alludes to the fact that the robot deputy can't comprehend the spirit of the law, so maybe it isn't driven by a sense of justice the way a flesh and blood deputy would be, thus making it more like a mercenary who follows orders without question. I mean, if so, that's actually a decent bit of backstory and nuance for a common draft chaff card. The flavor text does a lot of heavy lifting because there's still that incongruity with seeing a deputy mercenary robot card. I was shocked to see so many cards from New Capenna getting reprinted in the breaking news bonus sheet. Like, cards that aren't that old. Do they really need to reprint so soon? Then again, I think there should be a 5-year moratorium between reprints of cards. If Doubling Season gets reprinted in 2018, the earliest that it should get reprinted would be in 2023. I think that would help to preserve value on the secondary market. I do think it's hilarious that Rakdos is accused of being in a murderous conspiracy, and then 1 month later, he's part of a band of Wild West outlaws, including teaming up with a former Planeswalker Gorgon from his home planet Ravnica, who was at one point a pirate captain. Magic storylines are really weird if you stop and think about it. No, when I saw the character of Loot, the little plush character, like, Loot's design is really simple. The Magic designers watched The Mandalorian and wanted some of that sweet, sweet Baby Yoda merchandising for themselves. Seriously, though, I hate Loot with a passion. What should we name our new mascot? Well, you know that predatory practice in video games that's illegal in some countries due to its gambling nature? You mean loot boxes? Yeah. Now hear me out. Call a character boxes. No, seriously, loot. Now, looking at the big score, that's the funny thing about it. Ancient Cornucopia is one of the new cards. A 3-mana rock that taps for 1 with incidental life gain once per turn. Feels like a mythic to me. Now, this is the first time a canceled Magic product has been shoved into a set. Imagine if the Aftermath cards were canceled and just put into March of the Machine boosters in addition to the Multiversal Legends bonus sheet, and they just replaced the list. I love how Murders at Karlov Manor promised a mystery which was spoiled in the debut video, but each set since that one has had a genuine mystery to solve. With Murders at Karlov Manor, you had to find all the art that was plagiarized for Trouble in Pairs. And with Outlaws of Thunder Junction, you have to determine which of the mythic big score cards were supposed to be uncommons from the scrapped epilogue boosters. Remember the signature spellbooks for Jace, Gideon, and Chandra, which were rebranded as Commander Collections for Green and Black? How badly were epilogue boosters rejected by the market in order to warrant scrapping the follow-up set, which is already in production? Like, they still went and printed a whole cycle of the Commander Collection / Signature Spellbooks and before giving up on it. So, it must have done pretty bad. Now, when I look at this set, WotC wants to have its cake and eat it too. They want all of it. It's just unfortunate. Let's see. Oh, come to think of it, this one was a card from, I want to say, the Doctor Who set. So this is another card from a set that gets reprinted in a regular Magic set. Let's see. Yeah. Now, Wizards of the Coast, they want to have their Native American representation in our Cowboy set, but they don't want to deal with all the unpleasant elements of colonialism and, Trail of Tears, etc. So the solution is we're going to put Native Americans on the cowboy plane, but we want to stress that they're nomads who came here exactly the same time as all other people. Yes, this land was totally devoid of life before the Omen Paths opened up. No indigenous people here. And I'm thinking, well, what about the cactus folk? Like, you would think if anyone was going to be native to an arid plain like Thunder Junction, the cactus folk would have been here first. And it's like, no natives. Absolutely no natives. By pure coincidence, the cactus folk were drawn to this desert plain at the exact same time as the nomadic Native American analogs, but none of them got here before anyone else. Got it? That's some fun world building. Also, how long have the Omen paths been open? Since March of the Machine, which was like, what, a year ago? And there's multiple towns in Thunder Junction and cities. Thunder Junction was inhabited before the Omen paths, and those didn't happen in the invasion, so how can the place be built up so big? So this is a question this is a question that's actually asked in the story for Thunder Junction. Is like, I don't think this whole plane has made that many corpses. Unanswered questions. It's really bizarre. I don't even necessarily think it's building to a bigger mystery. Maybe it is. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. But it just seems like they wanted to have a world and they didn't want to have to deal with all the unpleasantries of colonialism. So it's like, oh, nobody got here before anybody else. It's just like the Sooner State, where everybody gets to stake a claim. It's worth noting that none of these commander decks contain any Planeswalker cards. I want to say that for last little while, most commander decks have contained one Planeswalker card. Oh, and so in the play boosters, 20% of play boosters contain a card from the list instead of a common. And so the list is from the big score set. Or it could be a special guest. That's clear as mud, right? So you get a special guest, and then you're going to get about 6 to 7 big score cards per box on average, I would say. So it's like WotC essentially removed the list slot from the Thunder Junction boxes and added one epilogue booster as a box topper, about a $5 value, which was distributed throughout the packs in the box. So it's not like you get one sealed pack as a box topper full of... that would have been interesting if they would have just said, you know what, we're just going to take these scrapped epilogue things, just stick one of them as a box topper in each of these. But no, they went ahead and put them in the packs themselves. Now, the fact that everyone is coming from different planes simultaneously and all adopting a cowboy aesthetic makes this feel less like an actual plane, like an actual lived-in world, and makes it feel more like Westworld. This is a glorified Wild West theme vacation. This is a theme park. Oh, this is like one of the only dresses in the whole set. There's like a lot of female characters, but you can count the number of skirts on one hand. And like, if Eldraine can have dozens of princess dresses and New Capenna can have flapper girls, where are all the Miss Kitty style outfits for the ladies? Olivia is like one of the only characters wearing a, traditional Wild West dress. And of course, she's known for wearing the extravagant gowns. Ariette, who comes from the plane of Eldraine, also wears a dress, but again, she comes from a fairy tale world where they're known for dresses, and that plane has dozens of dresses on. I'm not even asking for strict dress code matching the time period. Eldraine also had female knights in armor, and New Capenna had women in suits. That's fine. But it seems like WotC is going out of their way to put any bustles in their cowboy set. The sheer levels of skirt scarcity is startling. No, Thunder Junction feels as authentically Western as your average St. Patrick's Day parade feels authentically Irish. You have your Western set shy away from burlesque, guns, conflict with indigenous peoples, and what do you have left? Not much, as it turns out. This set feels like a contractual obligation. It feels like no one really wanted to make the set. Hence all the cameos, hence everything to distract you from how little Western flavor there is in the set. You know, Strixhaven and New Capenna both focused on a centralized location for their sets. You had a school and a city, respectively. The rest of Arcavios and Capenna are largely unexplored. And the more I think about it, Capenna should have been the setting for the last 2 sets. People are already talking about how Murders at Karlov Manor would have been a better fit for New Capenna. They could have used the Omen paths to pull suspects from all over the multiverse who represented classic characters and tropes from murder mystery genre. I'm not a fan of cameos, but coming to the Roaring Twenties for a vacation, which turns into a murder mystery, makes more sense than coming to an arid Wild West desert. Plus, you'd have to make people from different planes all stay there until the murder is solved. With Ravnica, it's everybody's home plane anyway, so where are they going to go, really? You know, and then after the murder is solved, it's revealed that there's a treasure hidden somewhere in the vast wastelands of Capenna. And since the rest of the plane outside of New Capenna was devastated by a Phyrexian invasion and is largely uninhabited, so instead of creating Thunder Junction for a Wild West setting, just use Old Capenna as your Old West analog. Then you can avoid the colonialism allegory since the wastelands have been uninhabited for generations. That could even play into March of the Machines. The Phyrexians have been using Old Capenna as their storehouse for valuable technology. The murders in New Capenna would have been over directions to the treasure. The plot ends with the location being revealed, and now it's a race to the treasure. The 1890s Wild West is not far removed time-wise from the 1920s gangster tropes of New Capenna. It seems much more plausible to have cowboy garb on hand when the only city on the whole plain is surrounded on all sides by a barren desert wasteland. And unless Thunder Junction is like Planet of the Apes, you know, you wander through the desert and then you see the city's skyline in the distance only to realize they've been on Capenna this whole time. But I don't think that's what they're going with. If guns don't fit in a fantasy setting, then WotC needs to stop picking settings which prominently feature guns like the Wild West, pirates, or Prohibition-era gangsters. There's 5 pieces of equipment in Thunder Junction, and not one is a gun. You have a sheriff badge, boots, a whip, a key, and a gold pan. New Capenna at least gave us the arc spitter, and the Invasion of New Capenna battle card flipped to the Holy Frazzle cannon on the backside. Ironically, the 26-year-old card Vengeance from Portal is a better encapsulation of the Western aesthetic than anything in Thunder Junction. It features a woman in the art, wearing a dress, holding a huge gun, in a mountainous desert region. She's standing over a dead giant-like creature, and the flavor text says, "A bullet renders all size equal." Based. And more true to the Wild West flavor than anything you're going to see in New Capenna. I read the story entries for Thunder Junction too. I don't know what's funnier, the fact that Satoru Umezawa is part of Oko's gang, in addition to all the other legends we see, or the fact that he doesn't get a card in Thunder Junction for some reason. So for as many legends as they have running around on the cards, there are more in the story that aren't even featured on the cards. And see, I thought, based on the trailers and everything, this was a tight-knit gang involving Oko, Vraska, Annie, Tiny Bones, Rakdos, and Kellen. Those featured in the trailer. But there's also Umezawa, Ariette, Breaches, Malcolm, Karavek, Ashiok/Jace, Gisa, Geralf. This is less like the Magnificent Seven and more like Oko's 11. The rest of Oko's crew at one point piles onto Rakdos' back, and Rakdos huffs, "I've sworn once never to be ridden again. Let it be known this is the last and final time." And I'm like, okay. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say about Outlaws at Thunder Junction. I think there was a ton of potential here, but I think that the will was not there. WotC did not want to put forth the effort to make a fleshed out cowboy set. They just wanted to take popular characters that people like and just put a cowboy hat on them. Sometimes make new characters to put cowboy hats on, but it really doesn't go below the surface level when it comes down to it. So, a lot of potential, but I don't think it was utilized effectively. But that's about all I gotta say. Thank you for listening, and I'll hope to have more videos out at a later time.